Rebuilding Gaza is going to be a huge task. It's estimated that nearly a sixth of the buildings there have been destroyed. Homes, infrastructure, factories turned into rubble. Tony Blair's the economic coordinator for the Quartet, representing the United Nations, the European Union, Russia and the United States. He's at the moment in Saudi Arabia, where he's been holding talks with the royal family about what to do next. When I phoned him this lunchtime, I anticipated he'd want to discuss economics, but I was surprised by his insistence that what mattered now was the politics. I'd begun by asking him about the reconstruction task in Gaza.
It'll be a massive task of reconstruction, just as there is a massive challenge, too, on the immediate humanitarian needs for the people in Gaza. But even the short term is fragile, and the long-term sustainability of this depends absolutely and intimately on revitalizing the whole of the peace process.
So does this call for a new approach? Is this an opportunity to try and rebuild a process which can lead to some kind of negotiated settlement?
Absolutely. Look, what's happened over these past weeks has been shocking, harrowing, and devastating for people in Gaza. And there is one thing above all else that we have got to take out of it, and that is to take a new and different strategic approach to solving this. And it requires, in my view, four things. First, a truly credible negotiating process for a two-state solution. Second, real change, step change, not just incremental steps of change on the West Bank, where the Palestinian Authority have made significant progress in 2008, but where there's so much more we could do if we were able to. The third thing is obviously the reconstruction and help for people in Gaza. And the fourth thing is Palestinian unity, and unity on the right terms. And if we push forward with real vigor and determination and commitment on those four items, we will create an environment in which we can make the changes necessary so that this does not happen again. But if we don't, and you know, we simply carry on with the situation in which the politics of Gaza are isolated from the politics of the West Bank, and where, you know, that there is not that real sense of drive towards the creation of a Palestinian state, then I'm afraid that fragility will break down. Well,
the block in all this still remains Hamas, who are in control in Gaza and are the seen as the biggest obstacle. I mean, is there now a need to try and reach towards them, to try and draw them in rather than drive them away and turn them into even more extreme figures?
Well, there is a need to present a strategic choice to people, but a choice that offers people a credible prospect of a peaceful future and a Palestinian state. And then, in a sense, is for people in Gaza and, of course, for Hamas to choose which way they want to go. There is no doubt in my mind that if you offered the Palestinian people a credible prospect of a Palestinian state and a route to get there, they would take it. And those people that decided to obstruct that or stand in the way of it or use terrorism and violence to defeat it, they would be turned on.
But what do you do? What does America do? What does Israel do to make that possible now? What are the changes that they make which will push this process forward? Because where we've got to so far is clearly the politics of failure, isn't it?
Well, where we've got to so far is that people don't see a Palestinian state as a prospect that is sufficiently real. And incidentally, they don't see that on the Israeli side either, because, you know, this will take both sides to make peace. And for Israel, we have to find the right way of dealing with their security concern, because they've got a genuine security concern. Whatever you think of what's happened in the past weeks, they have a genuine security concern, and that has to be met. It can only be met by building the capacity in the legitimate Palestinian Authority to keep order and to keep security, both for the Palestinian people and also be a secure and peaceful partner for Israel. Now, the whole point about this is that it's only if people see that, for example, the political process of negotiation is being driven forward credibly, that on the West Bank, where the Palestinians do more for their security, Israel lifts the occupation, where the Palestinians are able to get the economic and social development they want, and people in Gaza see, look, there is a way that we could rejoin the Palestinian people on the West Bank. There is a way we can open up to the outside world and have some sort of decent life, because in the past years, of course, they've had an utterly miserable existence even before this began.
You're suggesting then that Israel must reward the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority, for making progress. That the Gazans need to see what the results are if there's cooperation.
Well, I think what needs to happen, I think I put it in this way, although I understand the sentiment behind your question, but I put it in this way. If the Palestinians set about, with the help of the international community, genuinely trying to create an independent, viable Palestinian state that is a secure and peaceful partner for Israel in the region, then that's got to be recognized.
Does the timing of this and the ceasefire now mean that the Obama administration can step into this with a clean sheet without the problems that the Bush administration has had all along?
I hope so, but I mean, as we speak, obviously, the fragility is there short term, never mind long term. But I think there is an opportunity if we adopt, the four elements I've just laid out for you. I mean, I think if we did that, and if there was signaled by the new administration that there was going to be, this was not just a priority for them in terms of policy, but a priority with a genuine and potentially successful strategy allied to it, then yes, I think this would make a difference.
Let me ask one question about you and your role. As you know, there's a fair bit of criticism directed towards you about whether or not you have the time and the opportunity to make this work. This is now going to be a much more intense process, you're saying, as it goes forward. Do you have the commitment and the time to do that?
Absolutely, and I've made it clear I'll make the time for it because it's of such huge importance.
But can your role be continued as a part-time role? Is it something that can be done in that kind of context?
Well, it can be done in any way that people want me to do it. But obviously, you need the remit and the authority to do it. And over this past year, as I say, perforce, I've had to focus on the economic reconstruction part and security and capacity building on the West Bank. But I mean, I will do whatever I can in respect of Gaza, and whatever time needs to be made for it will be made for it.
So asked to do more, you'll do more?
Absolutely.
Tony Blair. On what should be a quiet Sunday in Whitehall, the corridors are again buzzing with banking officials, takeaway meals and draft rescue plans. The latest bailout